We are live with the 5th episode now of the No Name Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin. Welcome again. And today we've got another special guest in the house. Some of you may know him as Football Cards FS on Instagram. Yep. We've got my good friend Max here today joining us to talk about some sports cards and talk about what just happened this week in Dallas.
Yeah.
What's going on, Max?
You know, still trying to recover, as I was telling you earlier. Still trying to recover from that trip, but we're getting back into form every day now. So
yeah, it always takes a good 2-3 days of recovery.
2-3 days, week, same thing, right?
Yeah, 2 days, weeks. It all gets jumbled up when you're traveling and going to shows every week. So Max has been doing this for a little while. He's got a pretty sick collection of cards himself. So wanted to have him on and give a little insight on how he goes about buying cards and what he looks to buy and how he looks to buy. So, Max, how long exactly have you been collecting? Been in the
cards? Ever since I can remember, I've been collecting. Literally, probably since birth, because my dad owned a sports shop. It wasn't really a card shop, but it was a sports shop, and always just got me into card collecting. Just buying packs from used to be vending machines. And, ever since then, I've just kept collecting, whatnot. But I turned it into a business model in about 2015.
Okay. So how did you go about, when did you decide, when you decided I want to do this and make money out of it, how did you go about doing that?
I kind of just said to myself, I was holding everything I was buying. And, I didn't have much money to work with. So it's, how do I get my collection better? Because that's all the focus was, is how to get your collection better. And you have to fall out of love of cards in order to sell those to get other things that you want. And I was always told that you'll be able to rebuy the stuff in the future, but just get the money out and keep building up that money. So basically that card becomes free at the end. And I was selling cards, let's say LeBron autos, LeBron Cavs autos when they were like $500. And I was selling those, but I was using that $500 to build up a business. Then I eventually built that up to, let's say, $3,000. I bought the same LeBron back for $700, let's say, but now I had $2,300 in my pocket to work with. So when I learned that mentality of just selling to build up, things got a lot better for me personally.
Yeah, and we've kind of talked about that on a couple episodes, is trying not to get attached to anything that you buy, because it does become difficult when you're buying. You showed me a card that we'll show it a little bit later. It's something that most of you might not care about, but it's something that as a Heat fan I care about deeply.
Yeah.
But something like that card, where you buy it, and it's like, okay, I'm probably never selling this card.
Exactly.
But there's cards that if you go into buying it with that mindset, it's okay.
Yeah,
but there's those cards that that you buy, and like you said, you were buying and just holding, and it's like, okay, well, what do I do with this big collection?
Exactly. And
it's trying to figure out how to move up and, like you said, level up your collection and get the next card that you're looking for.
Exactly.
So you've been, like we said, you've been doing this since 2015 now as a business model. How have you seen, being in it for now just about 6 years, over the 6 years that you've been sort of doing this, creating a business model, how have you seen the growth in the industry? I know we talked about a little bit. You said it was almost the last 2 years has been almost unhealthy, the growth in the sports card industry.
Yeah, obviously the growth is exceptional within the past year and a half or so now. And as I was telling Kevin earlier, it in my opinion, it was an unhealthy growth. And a lot of people who have been in it for a while made a lot of money. And there's nothing wrong with that. But to make that much money that fast is clearly a negative thing for the sustainability of the hobby of sports cards, of however you define it. And I think that the correction, and I do think it's a correction, not a dip, I just believe it's a market correction that we're seeing, is better for the long-term sustainability of the market as a whole. And I'll give a much smaller scale example, because I was just looking up this comp the other day. Alen Smailagic. I don't know how many minutes he's actually played for the Warriors in his 2 years there. His silver PSA 10 base rookies were probably up to like $150 a pop at a point. and the last one sold on eBay for $14 and change. And I think there's a healthy medium between the two, because I told someone, I said, I'll buy every single silver rookie from the past 2 years in PSA 10 for $15 or under. Every single one. And I think a card like that should really adjust to about $40, $40. But the $150 it was at was another just absurd price that made absolutely no sense. I know you have his stats up now.
Yeah, he played in 29 games these past 2 years and averaged 7.7 minutes in those almost 30 games. So $150.
Yeah, so you're looking at a little over 200 NBA minutes.
And that goes into, how do you go about who you're going to buy? Because obviously these people are buying off of, what they think he can do and where the future potential might be. But it almost gets to a point where how much are you willing to spend on a guy like that, where you're spending $150 on a PSA 10 that, like you said, is now $15. And so at what point do you say, okay, maybe this is too much for a guy who hasn't even played, hasn't even averaged double digits minutes per games in the NBA?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big thing is it's to make the smartest investment. If you're going about it from an investment standpoint, is to make the smartest investment at a certain price point. And sometimes you just have to assess values and say it's just way too high for where it needs to be. So if you don't mind, I'll bring in some football quarterbacks right now.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow Contenders autos are around $2,000 each, or they were when I checked a few weeks ago. And Burrow could be an incredible player. I know he has a ton of potential to do so. But at that point, I'd almost rather have Jalen Hurts for a fifth of the price, or Jordan Love for 1/5 of the price. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be better than Joe Burrow. That just means that there's more growth for Jalen Hurts or Jordan Love to become a $2,000 card than there is for the Joe Burrow to become a $10,000 card. Because when you do the 5 times multiplier, I mean, it's much more likely that a Jalen Hurts or a Jordan Love Contenders reaches 2K than it is that a Joe Burrow Contenders reaches 10,000. And it's just knowing what's the smartest investment at certain price points. When Alan Smilicic Silvers were $150, it just wasn't a smart buy to hold, no matter how good he could have become. Because look at Tyler Hero. We were discussing that earlier. I think those were over $1,000 for a silver 10 at a point.
InvestaCard sold one for $1,400 during the playoffs last year.
That just doesn't make sense to me. But the market's correcting itself. I think it radically corrected itself a little too much recently. And I think eventually we'll see that steady balance of where stuff should be.
We talked, for about an hour and a half before we started the podcast. So we talked about some good stuff. And we even talked about the fact that, some of this stuff right now are really good buys.
Oh, yeah.
But there's also that potential for it to keep dipping. And it's at a point where, and I think, we'll talk a little bit, we'll go in depth with Dallas a little bit more later, but just from what I heard from Dallas, a lot of people weren't even looking to buy. Everybody was looking to sell in Dallas, and it's almost like guys are looking to just either get what they can right now and get liquid, or try not to lose on whatever they've bought in the past.
Yeah.
Because I heard a lot of guys trying to sell at comps or even above comps. Some guys were trying to sell for. So I think a lot of guys are, I wouldn't say scared, but I think some guys are, hitting the panic button a little bit just because they're seeing everything sort of taking a downturn in the market. But like you said, I also think it's a correction in the market, just because when you got, Alan Smilicic going for $150 PSA 10 and the guy's barely played in the NBA, there's a little bit of an issue there.
But like back to your point, when it's like, how do you know what to buy? I think that the market still has a ways to go. I still think we're dropping. I don't think we've bottomed out. But on a guy like Alan Smilicic, if you can find silver PSA 10s for $14 each, which is literally the last auction comp, I'm not making this up, how much more can that go down? It's making the smart investment, whether you think he's going to become a good player, an okay player, or he's out of the league in a year. That card can only bottom out at so much, $10, $12. I mean, if you buy at 14, you lose $2 a card and you have 50 of them. So what? You lost $100. As opposed to getting into, even Tyler Hero's silver 10s are probably at 300 now. I don't know what they're at this second. You can still lose a couple $100 on a card like that. Yeah. There's only so much you can lose on a $14 slab. And that's my thought process when something like that occurs.
So Max is hitting the buy button on Alan Smoldrick. You've heard it here first. That's breaking news. Go buy Alan Smoldrick PSA 10 silver prisms at $14.
If you could find them at $14, buy all of them that you can.
It's a great buy right now. Speaking of, other than Alan Smoldrick at $15 for PSA 10 silvers, who else are you currently buying? Because I know you're a big fan of Jordan Love.
Jordan Love's another one that I'm heavily buying right now. And it's, again, I'm not calling him the next superstar of the league. I'm not calling him the next Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers type player. But he's a sure shot to eventually get the starting job. And I mean, I was buying him way before the news broke of Aaron Rodgers possibly not coming back next year.
I can confirm.
But he tripled in price overnight just from Aaron Rodgers making a statement of he might not come back.
Yep.
So what's going to happen when they say this is our starter going forward, or he's in contention for the starting job actually? The prices are just going to go nuts. So you don't even have to wait for him to play week 1. He doesn't have to throw his first NFL pass. You just have to wait for him to be named the starter. Once he's named the starter, you're going to see a 5x increase in his prices.
So just as the news came out, we did an episode, and I said I was buying Jordan Love prisms at $16 base prisms. Just $16 raw. And just that was my plan this football season. Just stack up on Jordan Love and just hold it until next season. And then the news came out, and overnight that $16 card sold for $61. Exactly. And so it was just like that. And I said the same thing. I said I don't even need him to play a snap. I want to buy him up less than $20. If I can find him at less than $20, I'll buy them all.
Yep.
And I don't need him to even play a snap. I just need Rodgers to move on, and then to name Love the starter, and I'm gonna get rid of all of them. And I think that's the way, like you said, that's the way to play it. How much less can Jordan Love come down?
Yeah,
the guy hasn't played a snap. There's still
guaranteed to play.
There's still a ton of potential out there on he can be on who he can be. So you look at guys like what Burrow and Herbert are going for, and then you see the price that Love's going for, and those are the kind of guys that I think are the smart buys, like you were talking about.
Exactly.
Let's tell them your MVP pick, because he's got a very out of the box MVP. I don't even know if it's out of the box. It's just
he might not even start. I think that's why it's a little out of the box between you and I, and it's a quarterback.
Well, between you and I
and the viewers,
and you guys. No,
I'm talking about between you and I. I'm talking to you guys. I think Taysom Hill has a very good chance of not only becoming the starter in New Orleans, but having a very good season in New Orleans. And the reason for that is that he's not going to be asked to do too much. And as opposed to other years, he had to train his body to literally be able to play every position on the field, which is crazy to ask a player to do. Make sure that your body's conditioned to be a punt returner and a tight end and a quarterback.
And a running back.
And a running back at times. And we might even need you to play defense. Just kidding. But he was asked to just transform his body into just this Swiss Army knife. And now he's saying to himself, and the team's telling him, we need you at quarterback, or we want you to train to be a quarterback. And when you're in a system like New Orleans, you have Michael Thomas. We already know what he can do. Alvin Kamara, you don't need to be a superstar to get the ball to Alvin Kamara. You're just looking at check down passes, and he'll do the rest of the work. But if you throw a 3-yard pass to Kamara, whether it's a lateral pass or even a forward pass, for 3 yards, and he runs it for 50, your stats show that you just made a 53-yard pass.
Yep.
So the stats are going to be there, I think, for Taysom Hill if he becomes the starter. And I think he will be, because New Orleans has groomed him to be the starter for 3 years now.
Yeah, and with the contract they gave him, even though they can get out after every year.
It was a weird contract they gave him. I mean, it looks mega, but it wasn't mega.
Right.
Or it's not necessarily going to be mega. But he does have a chance to be something incredible in New Orleans. And I know his price point isn't the cheapest on some stuff, but to me it was a good gamble. I think that certain stuff can get really, really high of his, And a lot of people don't know this. He only has one rookie card. He has one rookie card, and that's his Contenders autograph, and there's only one variation of it. So there's not much out there if he does blow up.
So there's one rookie contender, and what's the parallel?
So there is no. That's the
or
thing.
The variation. I'm sorry.
They you have the base, you have the playoff ticket, you have the championship ticket, the cracked ice, and then the Super Bowl ticket. Obviously, that's all he has as far as rookie cards. So you're looking at 99 playoff tickets, 49 championship tickets. That's, I'm just roughly saying 150, 23 cracked ice. That's 175 or so, and then the 101. So 125 numbered variations, plus however many base they produced, which probably isn't much considering he was an undrafted player.
Right.
I mean, you're looking at under 1,000 rookie cards that this guy probably... I mean, roughly 1,000 rookie cards. If he does anything, people are going to want them.
Yeah.
If there's only 1,000 to be had, supply and demand just going to force these cards to go to astronomical prices, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is why I wanted to bring you on, because Max is knowledgeable. He knows a lot about things like that. Like the small details are so important when you're buying and selling cards, because a small fact like that. There's only one actual Taysom Hill rookie card, and it's the Contenders. And it's when those things, you can buy and sell at a much better and get much better value for your for what you're buying and selling. Now let's talk. I don't want to talk about it too much because I rushed home yesterday to watch Game 2 of the Miami Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks, and I was already over it after 5 minutes. Milwaukee looks really good. The Heat look really bad. Milwaukee's up 2-0. Do you see any room for Giannis's cards to go up at all, or do you think he needs to get to the finals to see any sort of exponential increase?
I think Giannis is at the point where he needs to win in order to see an increase, because, I mean, it's been 7 years now. I think it's 7 years since he's been in the league. He hasn't even got to the conference finals, I'm pretty sure.
The Heat against Kawhi.
They did make it that 1 year?
They were up 2-0, and then Toronto won 4 in a row.
Okay, I mean...
So they got there and then lost to Miami in the second round last year.
Personally, I think Kawhi, Giannis needs to win in order for his prices to have any sort of growth right now. And even making the finals might not be enough, but it will be something. But he's still going to need to win there in order to see that, sustainable growth. And, obviously the market right now, which I'm sure we'll touch on a bit after, is in a weird state right now, to say the least. So, for example, Zion was playing incredible towards the end of the year, pre-injury. Mm-hmm. And his prices, and I was just looking at base Prism 10s, were pretty much staying constant. They weren't going up and they weren't going down, but they were going constant, which made me think that the market as a whole was dropping. But Zion's performance was making them go up. So all that did was make his prices stagnant. It's not like you were buying in at 600 and all of a sudden they were worth 800 because he was putting up 30 and 10. It was staying at 600 because the market cap was dropping, yet his prices were going up. So in my opinion,
canceled each other out.
Exactly. So it just kept prices constant rather than dropping. And with Giannis, I think a lot of people have their eyes on the playoffs, obviously, but he needs to do something, like something substantial, in order for his prices to increase. And he has a pretty tough path to make the finals this year.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go through Miami, which, I mean, they didn't show it yesterday, but they're still a tough team.
They're still a tough team.
They're tough out almost every night except for yesterday.
Yeah,
then, if they win this, it's probably Brooklyn. You got to go through KD. I mean, if he can make it to the finals this year, I think his path to the finals this year will help increase the value, just because if he beats Brooklyn, that's a big notch in his beating KD, Harden, and Kyrie.
But then you have to go and play Philly.
You do potentially have to play Philly after that. But I do think if he were to take out Brooklyn, who is probably 90% of people's title favorites, I think that could possibly show some increase, because it shows you something. It shows you that he can get it done against a guy like KD.
I think Milwaukee stacks up really well against Brooklyn. I just think that Giannis has a lot of pressure on him, and he has a lot to prove, saying that, listen, these guys can form a legit super team. I mean, the Heat were not a super team last year. That's why it was kind of, I think, even me as a Heat fan, and I'm sure you too, I did not think that we were going to beat Milwaukee. There was not a day where I was like, okay, yeah, the Heat have a legit shot to beat Milwaukee, and then it happened, and I think it shocked everyone. Heat fan, Bucks fan, casual fan, whatever you were. It was just a complete shock. Now, when he goes out and
beats the Heat are beating everybody, so.
Well, then that's your optimistic look. I look at things very pessimistically, but I truly do think that Giannis has an extreme chip on his shoulder to get past that team, and he might totally take over that series, which again would see a short-term hike in his prices. But if he loses to Philly in the next series, and sorry if you're watching this and you're an Atlanta or New York fan, I don't see how he loses to either of those teams in the semifinals. But
talking about Philly.
Yeah, Philly. Okay. There's no way. So he would most likely have to play Philly if he gets past Brooklyn. I think that raises some serious situational concerns for the Bucks because, again, how do you stop Joel Embiid? I think that's the question a lot of teams are, replaying in their head.
Well, if you watched the podcast last week, you know that I actually like the Knicks in a matchup against Philly in a 7-game series. But hopefully we get it.
Yeah.
Because I think that would be and I think Brooklyn, New York in the Eastern Conference Finals would be electric. So
it would definitely be.
If the Heat can't get there, that's what I'm rooting for.
It would definitely be.
On the other end, I kind of yesterday was looking at LeBron's prices a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I saw 3 of his comps, and I just aimed for the middle one.
I was literally seeing three rims out there, so I just shot at the middle one.
But so I was looking at LeBron, and he's been coming down.
Yeah.
Since even since the end of the regular season,
mm-hmm.
his prices have been dropping. How much more do you think they can come down? Like, let's say he's out first round. Do you think there's a lot of room for it to still come down?
Unfortunately, yes. And for the short term, sure, which at this point, they're not looking good. They're not. The Lakers do not look good, and I don't think they're the team to beat. As Charles Barkley said the other night, no one's scared of them.
No.
They're just not scared. It's like usually you play the Lakers and you're lining up against LeBron and AD, and you're like, we got to go out.
And there's no way either one of them, LeBron or AD, are 100%.
It's especially AD. And
he's definitely not healthy.
Barkley keeps saying it, and I usually don't agree with Barkley, but on this instance, I do. AD needs to be the second best player on every single night he goes out there. He cannot be the third best player for the Lakers if they want to have a chance.
Right.
The Lakers are not this team that has so many bodies and they're so deep and they're so talented. I mean, you have LeBron, you have Davis, then you have others. And that's all they are.
Right. Everybody else needs to fill their role.
Yeah.
It's a lot of role players.
Even Drummond, I don't know what happened to him. He doesn't even seem relevant. You got Drummond, you have Marc Gasol. I don't know if he started. I haven't even seen him play.
Yeah, Marc Gasol hasn't been playing. The Drummond pickup was weird to me. It didn't seem like a great fit. I thought he would have fit better in Boston than with the Lakers. But the Lakers just don't look good. And I see the dip in LeBron, and it's almost like there's some cards that it's like that's almost too cheap. Yeah. So how much more do you think? Do you think there's like a lot of room for it to bottom out, or do you still think do you think it's about where it's going to bottom out? Because like going back to last year, mm-hmm. when the Lakers were looking good and were the favorites to win, the price of LeBron winning a championship, it was almost built in to some of the prices to some of the sales. So do you think the prices of him being out in the first round are almost built in this year? Because that's almost how it seems. Just the way the prices have dipped so fast and so hard, it's almost like, okay, let me buy this as if he's already out of the first round.
So, to that point, I'm sorry I went on a little rant before and you asked the same question. LeBron's stuff probably will see an insane tumble if they lose. An insane tumble. And I don't think we've hit that bottom out point yet. However, from a long-term perspective on LeBron, you buy at this point, and even if they go down right now, you'll be fine if you have the mentality of holding LeBron. And there's two things that go to that. First of all, he's the best player of the generation. No one's arguing that point. Mm-hmm. I don't think you can make an argument. LeBron hater, LeBron lover, he is the best player of this generation. And secondly, they cannot produce LeBron James pro uniform cards once he retires. He's an Upper Deck exclusive athlete. Panini has no rights to him. They have rights to the NBA Players Association, which means they get the rights to put his face and his name on cards until the day he retires.
Right.
Once he retires, you'll only see him wearing street clothes and Upper Deck cards, assuming Upper Deck still has LeBron's rights. Even to that point, looking at LeBron autographs, for example, LeBron hasn't signed a card in years. Like, literally years. Which makes stuff like that so rare and, in my opinion, such a great long-term buy. LeBron James is not a short-term buy at this point, especially if they lose. Which, as I said before, it looks more likely every day that we discuss it. From a long-term perspective, though, right? I mean, these are some of the lowest prices you'll see on LeBron items.
Right.
And if you have the capital and you have the patience to buy and hold that stuff, I think that it's almost impossible to lose money on LeBron James.
Yeah, and I've kind of mentioned this before, is I feel like guys like Jordan and LeBron are almost, when you're buying cards, it's almost like you're buying a stock.
Yep.
And when you're buying a LeBron James, you're buying a Tesla or an Apple stock. And you're not buying that because next week you want to sell it. You're buying it because in 10 years you want your account to be where it's going to gain enough that you can be like, okay, I made a great investment 10 years ago. So I think that's, to Max's point, is, buying these guys, you have to almost be prepared. The market's going to fluctuate so much every day that it's almost hard to buy a LeBron James card today and want to sell it next week.
Exactly.
So guys like LeBron, guys like Jordan, Kobe, Tiger Woods, I mean, if you're buying them low, just be ready to hold them for at least, a couple years.
Yeah, because you're not going to lose long-term money.
Right.
If you're like you said, if you're trying to sell it next month, I mean, they might still be in the playoffs and they might be winning, and for all I know, they could win the NBA Finals. I think long-term that stuff's going to be, especially the rookie stuff, especially the Cavaliers autos and the Panini inserts, the short-printed inserts, not the, your run-of-the-mill everyday insert. I think that stuff has a lot of long-term growth that it could see.
So you were in Dallas this past weekend for the Dallas Card Show. How did that go for you?
From a buying perspective, I think, and it's a very big I think, it went well. But with the current state of the market, I keep using that term, the current state of the market, I don't know until this stuff sells.
Right.
So, you think you're getting in at a good price point, you're checking comps, and you're feeling very confident in your purchase, just to get it listed 3 days later and see that it completely tumbled down based on the next comps. The stuff I bought, most of it was long-term good investments, rare stuff, numbered stuff, whatnot. But there were some base PSA 10s that I bought. Let's say Daniel Jones select PSA 10 rookies or whatnot. And my only thought process of buying football stuff right now is that, with the hype of next season coming, and I think it started in Dallas, because I started looking at price points, and football actually went up quite a bit since Dallas. I think that's football especially has a little room to go up for the junk base slabs. I consider any base card in a slab a junk slab. I think that stuff has room, but the basketball stuff right now, it's a falling knife. And it's like, do you want to try to catch that falling knife? Probably not, but some are more educated gambles than others.
Yeah, we talked about earlier also the fact after the Game 1 win, Lucas are up, but they're up from $800 to where they were doing just a couple months ago. They were doing $1,200 every day, all day, every day, $1,200, $1,250 you could get. Dropped to $800, now they're doing like $950. So they're up, but they're not really up. They're in a weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird place, like you said. It's falling so fast and so hard every day that it's, when something goes up, you're still not happy with where it's at.
Yeah.
So you almost need Luka to win a couple more, and then for you to feel like, okay, I can sell this now.
Yeah, I mean, especially those base 10s. I mean, there's just so many of them.
So I think last time I checked, there was almost 18,000, 17 or 18,000.
But between that card and the Acuna update, I'm not sure if you've checked the pop report on the Acuna update.
I haven't.
It's about the same, maybe a little more for the Acuna. As good as those two players are, and those two are probably the next faces, if not one of the next faces of their respective leagues.
Right.
There's just so many. It's not hard to get a Luka PSA 10, and there's only so much demand that's going to be had for that card, being how many there are. Now, I think numbered Luka Prism rookies are terrific buys if you like Luka long term as a player, because there's only so much.
Mm-hmm.
There's only 199 blues, there's only 299 reds, etc., etc. But as far as the base market goes, no matter how far you think the Mavericks are going to make it, no matter how good you think Luka's going to be, I don't think that's the right card to buy now or ever, really.
It's like you said, supply and demand.
Yeah.
You can go to these shows, and every dealer is going to have a base 10 Luka. Every dealer is going to have a Zion base 10 Prism.
Yep.
You literally see at least one at every table, if not multiples.
Yep.
It's the tables that you go to and you see, okay, this guy's got a rainbow of Lukas. Those are the ones that you stop at and you're like, wow. Those are the ones that catch your eye.
Well, maybe you stop. I don't stop because I know I can't afford them.
Well, right. You like, they're nice to look at, though.
They are nice to look at. They're very pretty.
You see a base Prism, and it's like, okay, I saw that at every table on my way over here.
Well, then the problem with that, too, is, I had a few. I was trying to move that stuff at the show. Booker base 10s and whatnot. And you give a price, $800. Well, that guy had one for $750. So all it is now you're just trying to undercut the last guy. Then he's going to walk to the next table, and he's going to see another one. How much can you do? I need $750 on this one. Well, that guy just told me $725. And then the guy goes, okay, I'll do $700. Guy keeps going on. That's what happens at shows because everyone has these cards. Now, when you have the only Luka Blue at a show, or you have one of very few, let's just say, or I had, for example, a Chris Paul Topps Chrome Gold rookie out at my table, no one could say, oh, that guy has one for a different price, because it's like, if there is another one at the show, there's one other of this particular card at the show.
Yep.
And I know the prices are going to be very similar because it's a very high demand card with a very low population. And I just think that from a long-term perspective, the numbered stuff has a lot of room to grow. And my last point is this. It's what I do like about the base market, so I'm not going to totally trash it, is that you know what it's worth on a day-to-day level. And, I could tell you what a Luka's worth as of 10 minutes ago, basically. Because there's at least 5-10 ending per day of a card like a Luka, whether it's a Prism rookie or a Hoops rookie, or, look at the Acuna update or Tatis update or Tatis Series 2, whatever it is. And you know what that card's worth from a liquid standpoint. It always will have a true value behind it, whereas you could be looking at a Luka Blue, which hasn't sold in 3 months, and now you're trying to figure out what it's worth in today's current market.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's the challenge also of, we do the Invest a Lot show every Monday, and we do these live shows, and that's the challenge of when we're comping cards out, is the serial numbered stuff, the out of 199, out of 99, out of 49. How do you give a true comp on something that sold 2-3 months ago, and you kind of have to just go off of how the market's gone and try to base it off of that. What did you buy in Dallas? Because I know you brought some stuff.
I brought some stuff. Kevin told me, he's like, bring some of your pickups so we could show some things.
Max always has some of the best stuff at shows.
No, not close.
No, it's true.
Not close.
Just ask him to show you the stuff he doesn't want to sell.
We'll start with these, because these were some of my favorites. I know these I definitely picked up in Dallas. That's why. Some of the other stuff I've been holding and haven't really showed much people, but We'll start with these 4 cards.
All right, so what do we have here? 3 of 3, Kevin Durant, 14K gold plate.
That's a true piece of gold in there.
Yeah,
it's literally
it feels like it.
It's literally a troy ounce of 14 karat gold. The gold weight alone is like $1,500 in that card.
You can. This might be one of the heaviest cards I've ever held because there's literally a piece of gold in there.
And this is Panini Eminence. It's one of probably the most expensive product that Panini puts out every year.
This is all decade. Another Eminence here. Vince Carter and Allen Iverson.
It's a very hard card to find. What I particularly like about that card is how Iverson signed it. He doesn't do too many autographs with that 3 underneath his autograph, but he did it for all of his Eminence autos, which is something I've really found unique about that card.
Well, you know why he doesn't do the 3 is because he knows he's not the real 3, but...
Yeah, D-Wade is.
Exactly. This one's 2 of 5. It's a great card right there. It's just another KD. 1 of 1. 2018 NBA Finals. We'll get these on the split screen so they could actually get a good view of them. Oh, how about this one? This is a Lakers fan. I mean, you can. Yeah, this is a name your price to any Lakers fan.
Exactly. For me, that card just portrayed in my I was just relaying in my mind the game where Magic comes in because Kareem's hurt, starts at center. I think he was a rookie that year. Shoots a hook shot, goes in, beats whoever they were playing that game. And, it's a Kareem Magic dual auto. And to me, it's just...
Number to 5, too.
Yeah, exactly. It just symbolizes such a great moment in NBA history.
Yeah, that's a great card. Any Lakers fan who collects cards, that's definitely a name your price card.
It definitely is.
And with the Magic documentary coming out, eventually.
I think that's gonna significantly help his values too. I think people were anticipating that documentary coming out because you saw Magic Johnson prices going up.
Yeah,
they've kind of fallen a bit. Maybe that's just the market going down. But another guy, you cannot buy Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Bill Russell items, and be worried about the long-term growth of an item like that. Like that stuff will always have value. There's no guaranteeing that Tyler Hero or Joe Burrow or John Morant, etc., will have long-term value because, how many guys have we seen? And I'm talking we, as in everyone that's watching this, who have had great 5-6 years worth of basketball, and, who cares about them? And I'll bring up 3 names. Guys that I'm buying because I just think about my childhood and guys I loved watching.
Yeah.
I've bought a ton. And again, I have no plans on moving this stuff because it just has value to me. Brandon Roy.
Okay.
Gilbert Arenas.
Oh, I love Hibachi.
And Danny Granger.
Danny Granger. That is the weirdest one out of the 3.
But Danny Granger was 26 a game when he was like 24 years old.
No, I get it.
So you're looking at a guy who was terrific when he was younger, had injuries, which killed his career.
And then Paul George took his spot.
Paul George also killed his career a bit. But, to me, it's like that could be any of these guys that are up-and-coming prospects. And you just don't know how their careers are going to play out. And Danny Granger, when he was 24, I'm sure his stuff was going crazy in the market. But now, who cares about Danny Granger stuff? So
it's funny because you said 3 names, and the 2 that came to mind immediately were Tyreek Evans and Michael Carter-Williams.
Brandon Jennings, too.
Brandon Jennings. Third game of his career? Was it third game of his career? He scored 56?
He had 50 a few times his rookie year. I remember that. It wasn't just once. He did that quite a few times. And no one thought Steph was going to be the best of the group. You literally have Steph and Harden in that draft class.
The Warriors were debating whether they needed to trade Steph or Monte Ellis.
Yeah.
And they made the right decision, obviously.
It's just crazy to me because, looking at 09 draft class specifically, the 2 Rookie of the Year contenders were always Tyreek Evans and Brandon Jennings. There were no other names to be discussed.
Yeah.
Those 2 guys aren't in the NBA, fast forward 11 years, and Harden and Curry are 2 of the best in the NBA. So
2 MVPs. Let's we like to do a segment here every episode called Sold or Hold, where we like to look at a player's value and see if it's time to sell them, or if you want to hold them, or maybe even you want to buy them. So Max, I'll let you go first. see what you've got.
Just pick a card out of here?
Yeah, just
so I'll give one that actually, can be discussed.
That's good.
Is this one all right?
Yeah.
That's
really good. Actually.
But he's a good player to discuss, I think.
Good player, good timing, yeah.
There you go.
Let's talk about him. This is Michael Porter Jr. Gold Optic out of 10. PSA 10. Or is it Pop 1?
Pop 2.
Pop 2.
So to me, Michael Porter Jr., I even, fight with myself whether he is a seller or a hold. Because I think that long-term, he has the potential to be a Kevin Durant type player. I truly do. He can score from all three levels. He isn't the best defender, but I think he has a lot of work to do with his game, and he seems dedicated to his craft. Obviously, you have injury concerns, which is what scared teams from drafting him and why he slipped to pick 14. But overall, I think he has the talent to be a top player in the NBA. On the flip side, what's the base PSA 10 at right now?
Base PSA 10 last sold 203.
I think that you can apportion the $200 on a base 10 into other items, which would be a smarter buy. So Michael Porter Jr. to me is a semi-hold. I would want some things, but I wouldn't be hoarding everything of him. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So, it's like you talked about, the supply and demand.
Exactly. And but even base 10s are fine if you want to hold one or two. I wouldn't go and buy 300 of them because he does have that injury concern. He does have work ethic concerns as well, which I think is why Mike Malone was a little hesitant to play him for quite some time. And talent-wise, though, no denying this guy has talent that's unexplainable. Yeah. Seriously, just unexplainable.
Especially as a scorer.
As a scorer, it's game over when he has the ball.
At worst, he can give off, if not Durant, he can be a Melo type of guy where he can go out and just score for you all game. Because Durant brings you what he brings you on the defensive end as well. Mm-hmm. Michael Porter's got a lot of work on that side of the ball, like you said, but at worst, he can be the guy that every night he's liable to go off for 30 points or more.
Because he can.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you go look at a guy like Lou Williams who can also go and get 30 on any, or, not this year really, but in past years. Yeah. His prices were never anything because he couldn't play defense and he just came off the bench and gave a spark and could score at will. It was really at will.
At Lou will.
At Lou will. But his market never saw any hike in ever. Right? You could still get his best RPA, his exquisite RPA, for $100, I think.
Does it come with a side of lemon pepper wings? Because you got me there.
I don't think it does.
Who I want to talk about for sold or hold, and shout out to Safe Slap because I was actually sent this in a Safe Slap.
Okay.
So I don't know, it's just cool, different.
It's pretty cool.
Lonzo Ball. Lonzo is interesting to me, just because of what could happen this offseason. Whether he goes and plays with the Knicks, signs with the Knicks. I think if he re-signs with the Pelicans, you're not going to see much happen to him. But I do think a team like the Knicks could help his value. Or if they can figure out a way to get him in Charlotte and have him playing with LaMelo.
Are they signing LiAngelo too?
If he's at least... Yeah. If they sign Lonzo Ball, LiAngelo's at the very least getting an invite to camp.
100%.
At the very least, they are maximizing all they can out of having those three on the same team. But I think that would be a lot of fun if you had Lonzo and LaMelo playing together.
Yeah, it
might not end up being fun.
Yeah.
But I think the lead up to it would be a lot of fun. And I think you'd have some fun moments with them playing together. So I think Lonzo right now is a hold. His I know the silver PSA 9 is doing under $100 right now. I actually think that's a great price. I think the last one did $80.
That's yeah.
And so I it's like we talked about. I don't think he's not awful. He's gonna be in the league for the next 5 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a guy his age who has shown flashes of really good potential, when you can get his silver prism already slabbed for under $100, I think that's a really good buy. And like I said, if he signs with the Knicks, I think the value goes up without him even playing a minute
100%.
in Madison Square Garden. So I think he's a good purchase. The Knicks were interested in him already at the trade deadline and couldn't make a trade happen. So they'll likely be after him this offseason. They have the most cap space going into the offseason. So Lonzo to the Knicks, make it happen.
You heard it here first from Kev, so.
You've heard a lot of great takes between buy Alan Smaldrick, buy Lonzo Ball because he could be going to the Knicks, maybe buy LiAngelo Ball because if Lonzo signs with the Hornets.
Yeah. He only has those Leaf autographs.
I was going to say, does LiAngelo have... I know he's got the Leaf, but I don't think he's got anything else.
No.
We have a new show. By the way, Max is one of the original people in our chat on our Instagram live shows. He was in our Invest a Lot show every Monday, buying, chatting, having fun.
Yeah, having fun.
Just having a blast, watching Eddie breakdance and things of that nature. So Max has been around for a while, very familiar with InvestaCard. And so I'm sure Max is excited for this Sunday. Because
I know the first show comes with entertainment, so I'm very excited.
The first show always comes with entertainment. There's going to be meatballs, so that's already going to be fun. There's going to be single slabs being sold. Sunday night slab down. We're going to take single slabs. We know on Mondays a lot of you are asking us to break up lots, so we want to bring you something where you can just buy single slabs and not have to buy a whole lot. So that's going to be starting this Sunday. It's going to be every Sunday. During Sunday Night Football, we'll have Sunday Night Slab Down during Sunday Night Football and Invest a Lot during Monday Night Football. So
you can't do it much better than that.
Mike Tirico and InvestaCard side by side.
Yep.
Max, I appreciate you coming, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Like I said, always good to have somebody who has a lot of knowledge about this stuff and can come on and speak on it. So. Refreshing episode, especially for you card collectors who've been tuning in. I know we didn't talk a lot of cards last week, so I wanted to make sure we got that in for you guys this week. Again, I appreciate you guys tuning in every week. Tune in Sunday on our Instagram, Sunday Night Slab Down, and just keep watching, and we'll keep you posted. As always, you know the deal. Max, you want to take it? I know you know the slogan.
You still don't know the slogan, I don't think.
No, I know it.
You were messing it up for a while.
I was messing it up. But as always, Max, invest
in the best
with
InvestaCard.
Appreciate you guys.